The great Maldiva said, and I like quoting, "Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity. It is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. Sometimes it falls on a generation to be great, so you can be that great generation." I've been asked today to speak about making a case for businesses. The SDGs makes a strong case for engaging businesses, not government, even though the latter remains a key stakeholder in the delivery of its goals and why getting involved makes sense for businesses. The UN General Assembly has endorsed a framework for financing development by providing a strong foundation to support implementation of the post-2015 development agenda. It includes a new global framework for financing sustainable development by aligning all financial flows and policies with economic, social, and environmental priorities. The following points are particularly relevant to the role of businesses as envisaged. Number one, unlocking the transformative potential of the private sector. Number two, inviting businesses to apply their creativity and innovation towards solving sustainable development challenges and to engage as partners in the development process. And the third one, placing emphasis on country-level leadership to build ownership and ensure prioritization of goals and targets for local context. For businesses, the tangible opportunities for partnership would be at our country level, and it's estimated that SDGs will require trillions and trillions of dollars annually. It is believed that global and public and private investment will not be sufficient to address it, but only financial resources and business investment communities are aligned with sustainable development. For the purpose of this meeting, I have put the 17 goals, and what I added myself into the following headings: education, social housing, agriculture and agribusiness, healthcare, power, water, science and technology. And again, for time, I only talk about education and technology. Education. I cannot help thinking how sustainable development goal number 4, that is, let me illustrate the importance of education by comparing the economic trajectory of two countries. A country that gained independence in 1957 compared to another that gained independence in 1965. Today, the 1967 country has a population of 225 million people and occupies an area of 280 square kilometers. It has abundant natural resources: gold, manganese, bauxite, cocoa, timber, fisheries, cattle, and agriculture. The 1965 country has a population of 5.6 million people, occupying 719 square kilometers. It has no natural resources. One would think that the 1987 country would be a clear winner in terms of GDP and other economic advantages. Your guess is as wrong as mine. The 1987 country with abundant natural resources has per capita income of only 1,680 per head. The 65 country with no natural resources has a per capita income of a whopping $54,000 per head. The 57 country hosts 29 banks, most of them local and not even well capitalized. The 65 country hosts 119 foreign commercial banks alone, not to mention the numerous local well capitalized banks. The reason for the economic differential between the two countries is found in Sustainable Development Goal number 4, that's education. Research tells us that the 65 country, which by now you have all guessed is Singapore, has pursued a rigorous process of educating its citizens. The 57th country, which is Ghana, has not. Economists estimate that the Southern Hemisphere contains 80% of the world resources and 20% of the world's capital. How possible? It follows from that same thing that the Northern Hemisphere has 80% of the world's capital and 20% of the world's resources. This imbalance is one of the main challenges for the meeting of Sustainable Development Goal, because economic disparity, otherwise known as a haves versus have-nots, is so severe. Witness Singapore versus Ghana. For example, the setting of SDGs first priority should be solving economic disparity through the most powerful tool available, education, accompanied of course by proper training. That is why I stand here today to make a very passionate appeal and call to the business and investment community to look at opportunities in education. You should steer your energies into investing into education of our country, because everywhere in the world where education thrives, leadership is taken by the business and private sector. The second challenge, obviously, of our population. Again, when we are well educated, businesses will show families, for example, to produce responsibly. The third challenge, disease. Again, education will light the way as to how to avoid sexually transmitted diseases and food-related diseases as sugar, diabetes, etc. The fourth, leadership. Effective education will enable people to have the knowledge to choose and monitor good leaders. Again, the fifth, the most important challenge is how quickly the world's scientific community is moving in areas of genetic engineering, robotics, food production, medical advances, and so on. The list is practically endless. So, without contention, the capacity to think, innovate, transmit, and utilize knowledge is instrumental to development. In a knowledge-based economy, the benefits accruable from the increasing blurring geographical boundaries can only be maximized by the nations with highly skilled and educated labor force. The primary criteria should be investment into independent, low-paying schools. Business and investors should finance infrastructure requirements for upgrading existing buildings, new schools, as well as providing finance for educator-related needs such as childhood development, skills training, and education materials and services. In Africa today, a girl who finished education is 3 times less likely to contract HIV/AIDS. If all women in sub-Saharan Africa have basic education, 2 million lives could be saved annually. Nearly 50% of primary school age boys and girls are not attending secondary school. I urge the investor community to focus your education investment aspect to seek to provide credible business investment to ensure that the problem is curtailed in a win-win fashion for both investors and beneficiaries alike. If the primary and secondary education enrollment raises, all of African nations advance rapidly from the best practices countries, the continent will have the following figures: 90% upper enrollment by 2050. By 2050, a number of malnourished children will be lowered by 4 million. The number of people living in less than $1 would reduce by 60 million, and the chance to state failure will be less than 10%. And will add 4 trillion of Africa's GDP by 2050, which is more than 5 times the cumulative increase in overall spending in education throughout the year. So you realize that the case for investing into education is so crucial in trying to help to achieve these sustainable goals. The last one I'll talk about is technology. With the pace at which technology is moving, if we're not careful, the gap between the haves and have-nots will widen and widen, and that we will not be able to meet our goals. One of the most challenged is how we quickly, the world's scientific and technology community, are moving in areas such as genetic engineering, robotic, food production, medical advances, and so on. Moore's law says, and I quote, "The observation that the number of transistors is a dense integrated circuit doubles approximately every 2 years. This is known as linear expansion." Scientific knowledge is growing so fast that Moore's law is becoming irrelevant as we march forward because it's being pushed aside by exponentiality. And exponentiality can be defined as much more rapid than the Moore's law's expansion. By 2030, that is where we are looking to achieve our goals. We will live in a world where artificial intelligence has totally transformed our lives. This is because exponential growth of data collection, information, knowledge, and technical application thereof. Today's Tesla self-driving motor cars and trucks, which run on batteries, are just a taste of where society is destined to head to. And with Africa not investing in technology, again, I'm afraid if we are able to meet these objectives. By 2030, a mere 13 years away, exponential technical application of science by the halves will take us to undreamed of places in a time frame which is frightening fast. I do not personally have the knowledge to tell you exactly what technical destinations we will have arrived at 2030, but I'm prepared to set out some signposts. By 2030, medical technical appliance science will have achieved the following: human genome manipulation, leading to replacement of every component part of the human body with a new one. Extension of human and animal as we know it, practically indefinitely. Creation of partly human, partly artificial, robotic entity driven by artificial intelligence. Self-replicated artificial intelligence, self-diagnostic artificial intelligence, increasingly more in artificial intelligence capable of making self-perpetually smarter without human intervention. By 2030, technically, science will have achieved advanced nanotechnology across board on technical advances. And as a continent and as a country, we need to start looking at this seriously, investing resources into it so that we will not be left behind. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals will be achieved or surpassed by science. Therefore, businesses and investments in our region should be aligned in today's tech speed, or else, like any other things, we'll be wandering behind typical as the have-nots. In conclusion, you agree with me that there's nothing more fulfilling as business community than helping others, solving certain problems, and at the same time making healthy returns of our investments. You will also agree with me that the quest to meet our sustainable development goals cannot be achieved by aid. You will testify that it can only be achieved by a thriving business-like approach in innovation, creativity, and results-oriented style. This objective, while ensuring healthy returns to the investor, is to promote social development and upward mobility. While the course is altruistic, it significantly enforces sustenance and continuity for the business and the consequential investment returns. Thank you.